to Mystery Review Crew and the story behind the stories. And I'm Shelley Blanton-Stroud here having a conversation with author Marilyn Levinson. Marilyn is a former Spanish teacher. She writes mysteries, suspense, and novels for young readers. As Allison Brook, Marilyn writes the Haunted Library Mystery Series, which has received many accolades. Death Overdue, the first book in the series, was an Agatha nomination for Best Contemporary Novel, a Library Journal Pick of the Month, and on Goodreads' list of the 200 most popular books published October 2007. The Devil's Pawn is a horror suspense YA that will give you chills, but also leave you smiling when you've read the last page. Her Golden Age Mystery Book Club mysteries have received many wonderful reviews. Murder a la Christie, the first in the series, was a King Rivers Life magazine's best of 2014 and on Booktown's 2014 Summer Mystery Reading List. Professor Lexi Driscoll leads discussions about Christie novels as she solves the murders of various members of her book club. I'm not joining that book club. In the sequel, Murder the Tay Way, Lexi and the book club talk about Josephine Tay's mysteries as she investigates murders and unravels secrets. Untreed Reads has brought out new e-editions of Marilyn's Twin Lakes mysteries, A Murder Among Us, awarded a Suspense Magazine Best Indie, and on Booktown's Summer Reading List. The sequel, Murder in the Air, was on Booktown's Fall Reading List. Both books will soon be available as audiobooks. She's got a ghost mystery, Giving Up the Ghost, and her romantic suspense, Dangerous Relations. Most of Marilyn's mysteries take place on Long Island, where she lives. Her books for young readers include No Boys Allowed, Rufus and Magic Run Amok, which was awarded a Children's Choice Award, and Getting Back to Normal and Don't You Bring Jeremy. Marilyn loves traveling, reading, knitting, doing Sudoku, and visiting her grandchildren, Olivia and Jack, on FaceTime. She's the co-founder and past president of the Long Island chapter of Sisters in Crime. Well, Marilyn, it's so nice to have you here today, and I was hoping that you would start by sharing your author origin story. How did you get from the beginning of authorhood to where you are right now?
Well, when I was a little girl in elementary school, I wanted to be either an author or a ballerina. And I see what I became after I became a Spanish teacher. But this is good because you can write and write until you're quite old, like I am. And, you know, now, of course, you have you're surrounded by friends through Facebook, etc. And it's a very nice thing to do, to write mystery novels.
Yes, that's great.
I started out writing children's books, and some of my children's books are now being republished. Rufus and Magic Run Amok has come out again, and soon the second book will be out. And I have a contract for 4 books, and my YA horror is going to be coming out again too, so which is really nice.
Well, how did you wind up, since many and most of the people listening to this interview are mystery readers, so how did you go from writing children's books to writing mystery? What was the leap that led you there?
Well, I always loved to read mysteries, so I finally decided to write one. And actually, the very first book I actually wrote was a romantic suspense. And romantic suspense novels really are mysteries, except there's a romantic element. And but that book was never published. And I don't know, about 23 years ago, I decided I was going to focus on writing mysteries.
Did you have any grief from, any pushback from, guardians at the gate about that, about switching from genre to genre?
Not really, because, well, I was publishing children's books, but there were years in between, etc. And I just really wasn't getting anywhere doing that. And I just thought I would try a mystery. And I found that I really loved doing that. I mean, I do love writing children's books, but as I said, I now am focusing on writing adult mysteries.
And was there a learning curve moving into the mystery form?
You know, that's a good question. None that I was aware of,
Mhm.
um, because I guess I always had a group online, um, of people who were beginning to write mysteries, and I guess we learned from each other. Um, I did some I did some exchanges of critiquing,
Mhm.
and I when I started writing children's books, I had taken an adult ed class with an author. She had written in every genre, Roberta Gellis, and we became very close friends. She was like a relative to me, and I just learned from her through osmosis, I think. Um, I never really, I mean, I took a few classes here and there, but I think it was just by doing that I really learned how to write. And I never thought about that really, how I learned to write mysteries as opposed to children's books.
Huh. That's great. Well, you already had a facility for writing. And as I've learned talking to authors like you, there's such a variety in how people learn to do it and how they get it done. Well, and actually, that kind of leads me to my next question, which is about your prolificness and the breadth of your writing. You write so many books and manage a broad sweep of series. Are there connections between your series? Will a reader discover your thumbprint in all of them, or do they read very differently?
Well, I think in terms of each book or each series separately, and I don't see them really crossing. Um, as you said, many of my books do take place on Long Island, like Murder a la Christie and the Twin Lakes mysteries. But this series, the Haunted Library series that I'm writing now as Allison Brook, that takes place in Connecticut. But my family, we did have a summer home in Connecticut. So Connecticut is dear to my heart.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's kind of fun for readers when they pick up these little Easter eggs. Like, I wonder if that's where her family goes, or isn't there a character, in this other series that spends some time there? That's great.
I did in the fourth book in the Haunted Library series. My sleuth and her boyfriend, at that point, he's still her boyfriend, not her fiance. They take the ferry over to Long Island, and I don't mention this Turkish restaurant by name, but anyone who's eaten there, and I go there often, would know which restaurant I'm referring to.
That's great. And I've talked to other writers of mysteries who say that their rule about using real life locations is if you're only talking about lovely things that happen in a place, go ahead and use its real name. But if somebody gets killed there, do not use its real name.
Well, that's a good rule. I always make up my own town or village, but I'm very aware of where I'm setting it within the state, and I do use real locales. But you're right, I don't place any murders in any of those real locales.
Yeah. And it's very important to the reader to believe in the authenticity of the place. And so if you begin with a sense of other places like it and nearby, you can make whatever changes you like, I assume.
Yes, exactly. Because I had been in this town very briefly, the one that I used as a model for Clover Ridge, which is the town in Clover Ridge, Connecticut. And I do use it, and I've seen pictures of it. But as you say, I adjust it and change it according to what suits my stories.
That's great. Well, I'm also wondering if you would tell us a little bit about your most recently published book. It's the seventh in the Haunted Library Mystery series, Overdue and Die. And I think that one, you write that series as Allison Brook. Is that
Yes,
correct? Okay,
correct.
best place for people to find this. is shopping for Allison Brooks, the Haunted Library Mystery Series. So would you mind telling us a little bit about Overdue and Die? And I guess also because it's a series, it might be useful for you to tell us about your protagonist and the things that are true of every book in the series before you tell us about this particular book.
Well, Carrie Singleton comes on the scene, and the first thing you see she's thinking as she's crossing the green is the center of the village. And of course, it's been there since the 1600s. And these buildings are built around the green. They're centuries old. And once they were a wood shop or whatever, they are now, one is the library. And there's an inn, the inn on the green. There's the gallery on the green. There are different restaurants. And it's rather a large green. And she's staying at her great aunt and uncle's on the far side of the green from her. And she's walking across the green thinking, it's time for me to leave town. Now, this is the area where her grandparents, her great aunt and uncle, were working on the family farm, which they sold years ago, and they moved to this other house. And she's been living with them for 7 months. And she comes from a dysfunctional family in terms of her parents, which I go into great detail. And she's all ready to go. And her uncle, who's on the library board, he managed to get her a job in the library, but at very low level. She does have a library degree, but there's no room for her. She's not needed. And so she shelves books. And I also might add that she is a free spirit. She moves from place to place. She doesn't have a sense of belonging anywhere because her father was a thief. And when he wasn't in jail, he was often not home, and her mother's not very maternal. And we get to know these characters very, very well through the series, even though they don't live in Clover Ridge. And she's taken refuge with her great aunt and uncle, who she really didn't know that very well before. And she's going to work, and she's made a decision. She's going to be leaving town. And she's offered this job. The woman who is the head of programs and events has to leave because her husband has a different job in California. And Sally, who's the head of the library, doesn't like Carrie very much because Carrie, she's just there. She dresses goth. She has long purple hair, dresses dark, Doc Martens boots, earrings down to here. And she is qualified to be a librarian. So she offers her the position of programs and events. And Carrie opens her mouth to say, thank you very much, but no. And a voice tells her, don't be a fool. Tell her you're going to think about it. And this is Evelyn Havers, who is the ghost that haunts the library. And nobody can see Evelyn. Strangely enough, Carrie can. Of course, Carrie's shocked. She thinks this is just her mind saying it. And she finds out later that her little cousin also can see her. They're the only people, and she keeps trying to give Evelyn cookies, which of course Evelyn can't eat. And so that is how Carrie ends up staying. And through the books, you see the great changes that take place in her life and how she responds to these changes. And so we see her, each book has mysteries, but I'm mainly concerned with my characters. And I'm also very concerned with their relationships with each other. And you see how what happens with her father. The second book, he comes in to the book at 3 a.m. He wants her to arrange something with another thief. They pulled a heist together, and the other guy has the jewels, and where are they? And she's horrified. And then in book 4, you meet her mother, who's married to a younger man, and she's not maternal. She's very self-absorbed. And you see how Carrie deals with these different people, and you see how her relationships grow and develop. And then, of course, there's the love interest because she takes a place on the Avery property, and her landlord owns the manor home, and half a mile down is the cottage that she's renting, but he's not there very often. And it turns out that Dylan Avery, who's about 4 years older than her, was friendly with her brother when she and her brother Jordan used to come to the farm. Her brother Jordan has died. And you see how their relationship grows and develops. And of course, there are the mysteries. Each book has a different mystery. And in Overdue or Die, which is the 7th book, Dylan has been left a painting by a famous painter. The painting was done when the painter was like 2021, and he had given it to Dylan's great uncle, who we never even met. But in the previous book, we meet the uncle who had it, owned it, and the painting is being held at this uncle's friend's house in outside of Chicago. And Dylan goes to get the painting, and he is on the way back to his hotel that night. He stops with a man suggested. He said, "Oh, you can get great little gifts here." And he's attacked, and the painting is stolen. Now, I might also add that Dylan is an investigator. When Carrie first meets him, he's hardly ever home because he works for an insurance company, and his job is to track down stolen artwork, mostly paintings and jewels. And so he really has an education in and knows about painting. And what happens is that the FBI, there's a little section of the FBI that's devoted to unearthing stolen paintings and the like. And they managed to find a place where other paintings are being held along with his. And it turns out that this is one of the strongholds of a syndicate that makes copies of paintings.
I'm going to stop you here because I don't want you to give it away.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you, you're bringing up so many fascinating topics. One of them that made me interested was your simple phrase that was revealed in a lot of your description, that you're mainly interested in your character development. And I was wondering if you do any pre-writing work on developing who these characters will be, or do they just reveal themselves to you as you write? A lot of times people who listen to these interviews are writers themselves, and they'd like to know how it works for you.
Well, I have learned as I've been working on this series that I'm becoming more of a pantser. I mean, I always start with a premise. I always start with two premises or two themes, and I bring them together. I will bring in two elements of the story together, and which is not always the easiest thing to do, but this is what I like to do. And I find that I like it best when I let the characters develop themselves and you see where they go. And it's quite amazing that characters will take off. And one of the best, I was just writing about this for a blog, is that one of the best ways is really to see how they interact in a relationship. And so this is really how you can see how they develop and grow. But what I love about writing cozy series is that you can see how your characters change. I see how Carrie has changed over the books. And I mean, she did it on her own. I don't know how much I contributed.
I wonder if cozies have changed much. The definition, like, do you have a definition that you subscribe to about what a cozy is and what you're quote unquote allowed or not allowed to do in order for your
I have never been not allowed to do anything. My feeling of cozy, the basic element and the basic definition of a cozy. A cozy is the type of book that leaves you with a cozy feeling. And a lot can go on. Of course, some of the elements are the setting is very important, a small town, usually picturesque, characters, people say quirky characters, but I think well-developed characters. I mean, I know that my characters are very important to me. But think about it. I know that when I watch so many mystery series on TV and streaming, if I see an episode again, I don't know who the murderer is. I don't remember, but I always know what the character is about. And the characters, I don't care. I get a lot of these calls, so I'm just getting rid of them. I feel, as in my books, as in all cozies, as in these mystery streaming series that we see on television, through Netflix or whatever, it's the characters that remain with us, and that we care about them. And I think, so that's what I think is most important. And then going back to the cozy, no brutal murders, no murdering of children or animals. And you won't believe this, I love author takeovers, and I really honestly chat with people. I'm not just doing it as a form, of, oh, well, whatever. I really want to know what people think. And so many readers have told me they don't like romantic threesomes, where the sleuth can't decide.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, so many. It's not more than you think. So but getting back to your question, I feel that cozies have changed. And by the same token, I've never been told not to treat something. For example, in this particular book, Overdue or Die, a woman comes on the stage, and an addition had just been added to the library, et cetera, and she claims that the building is hers. And the woman she's in trouble. She's senile. She has a dementia, and but it's treated lovingly because she has a relative who came to town. The woman is originally from Clover Ridge, but she's living in Florida. So and then I opened the book where great uncle Bosco is in the hospital with a heart attack. So it's really how these things, these real life difficult things, are treated, I think.
So that even though your characters confront difficulty, as it would be hard to avoid in a mystery, the reader can expect to leave by the end with a quote unquote cozy feeling about where everything landed.
Exactly. I think so, yes. Even if it's the relationship between the aunt and the aunt who has dementia and her niece, and it's the human connection that we are responding to in these series, is what I feel. I mean, of course, there's the mystery. We love the mystery part, but I think it's the characters. The characters really rule. Are the main character. The characters of the main character is the main character, or the main character.
Marilyn, what are you going to do going forward? What are you writing next? And is the Haunted Library Mystery Series going to go on forever?
No, I told my editor, my agent, at the end of the 6th book that I was writing, that I was going to end the series after the 8th, because I see Carrie's story arc complete, and the interesting thing is the last few books, she and Dylan solve mysteries together. And if I want, it would be like writing Mr. and Mrs. North. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I could always go back to do that. But I feel that with the 8th book, there's nothing really to tie up, but I feel there's a completion. And it was hard for me to write the 8th book So, but I do have an idea for new series. I'm not like some of these authors who can write more than one series at a time. So I am looking forward to starting the new series. Completely different characters, completely.
Change is good. Marilyn,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you, when you set out to write this series, did you plan? I mean, I think I heard you say you're a pantser rather than a plotter. So you didn't.
Well, now, no, I was always the opposite,
Oh,
and I became more of a pantser as I more with the more books. I think what it is, I learned to trust myself more. I knew that somehow I would finish this. I would work it all out somehow. So far I have.
great. Um, I was wondering what you consider to be your biggest challenge of conducting a writing career at this time in history. Oh, and actually we can do the flip side of that. It doesn't have to be the challenge. Like, what's the really great thing about writing right now? Either or.
Well, for one thing, I so appreciate the electronics of it all, because I have a little group that we've been together about 20 years. And I mean, I'm constantly emailing, it's not always about writing, but we're constantly emailing back and forth. And with two of the members, I check in at night, and it could be, I didn't write anything today. I mean, I even know what they've been doing all day for the most part, but very often it's, I didn't write anything today, or I didn't, I'm having trouble with such and such, because our group was created to help each other in, like, with plotting problems. But we help, we discuss everything from kitten problems to whatever. We most of us have animals, or have had animals, and I just got two little kittens. And so it's I love checking in with Peg and Kay. We just do it, very often it's what we had for dinner, or whatever. So I'm grateful for that. And also Facebook, I love being on Facebook with readers and writers and whatever you. And it's such a wonderful feeling when I put up something about my new book, and I keep people say, I love this series. And it's such a wonderful feeling, that's why you write. You're trying to bring some peace and a few hours of tranquility to a reader.
And also to connect. And that is one of the things that not everybody talks about, is that the internet and our technological tools, including the ability to text or to email so efficiently on our phones, if you're prone toward really connecting with people, then those can be excellent tools for doing it and making sure it happens in your life.
I just want to add one thing. I do giveaways usually on my newsletter, and I always ask a question. Why do you want this book? And this last time I wrote, and I'm so touched, that why do you love to read? I wasn't talking about my books, and I'm just so touched by, some people wrote paragraphs, and my readers, they reveal so much about their lives, some of them. And it's just, as you said, I am interested in connecting with people in a real way. I don't mean, buy my book and, what did you like? You know what I'm saying? And I mean, I don't even tell people to, leave a review. I'm grateful that I get many reviews. So I don't, I only did it this one time yesterday, when I just asked people who already had read the book through NetGalley, let's say, and they already had posted reviews on Goodreads. I just asked them to please also put them on Amazon, because they, as of yesterday, it was allowed. But that's not what I'm after.
It's a connection. I remember sending out I guess it was last year, I sent out a newsletter to my subscribers, and I let them know that I had canceled a number of events when my mother died, had just died before that. And so I wasn't, like trying to open up this big conversation, but just like, I don't feel capable of doing all the things I would normally do. And so I've canceled most of them. And I got so many individual emails from subscribers who, oh, I remember this one reader who was from England. She said, when my mom died, it was 35 years ago. And you know what I mean? And it just reminded me, it's just that reminder, because we have this access, this ability, not just to write books, but to connect with readers through our newsletters or, social media or whatever it is, that there are readers on the other side of the glass that are human just like us, and that's why we're in it. So I'm glad that you're feeling those.
Yeah, I'm very aware of it. I was just so touched by what, and how it's almost like a soothing, we're performing a service in a way, by giving them something that takes them out of their daily lives. And because this is where the arts or literature or writing, books really do help people, I think. So I think that, we play an important part in something like this.
That's beautiful. Let me ask you one final question, which is kind of easy. Marilyn, for those of our listeners who would really like to follow up and find out more about you, as well as to find out more about your books when they start to make their choice about where to begin, where would you like them to go to do that?
Well, I'm on Facebook pretty often, and so you could find me there under Marilyn Levinson. And I'm on the cozy sites. I visit the cozy groups pretty often. And I'm a member of the Guppies because Guppies never leave. And where else am I? Well, I have my newsletter, and I do some author takeovers. I'm going to be doing one in a week or two at Meg's Cozy Mystery Review. Like, what is it? Cozy Mystery site. And so that's where, and I am on Instagram. I did sign up for Book Talk, but I have not gone there yet. Are you on Book Talk?
No, I'm not. Too behind on everything. Marilyn, and you have a website, and I think it's marilynlevinson.com. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
And if they just go to marilynlevinson.com,
yes,
you will also find a way to sign up to subscribe for your newsletter. And I'm assuming that you'll let them know of upcoming opportunities and ways to reach you.
Oh yeah, I put a newsletter out practically every week, every month, beginning of the month, sort of. And yeah, I find that readers like to know sort of what's going on in your life. And lately I've been putting up pictures of my kitties, Romeo and Juliet. My granddaughter named them. Yeah. And about books, and I also have books sometimes of my friends, my other author friends, if they have a new release. And as I said, I'm on Facebook. Not depends on how much work I have to do, but I'm here and there.
Well, Marilyn, it's been wonderful to get to chat with you and to hear more about your backstory and about the backstories of your characters. So thank you so much for joining us at the Mystery Review Crew. And I wish you all the luck in the world finishing out the Haunted Library Mystery Series and beginning the next series.
Thank you so much, Shelley, for having me here.
Well done. Good luck.
Thank you.